The Cheating Death Podcast is a satirical program containing objective information about anything and everything from under the sun. We are not political. We are not religious. We are merely analytical and perhaps a bit prodigious. Given the way and the shape and form in which our current world is, the calamity is all around us, but that does not necessarily mean that there isn't benevolence around as well. And dear listener, you are fully aware of these circumstances because you have chosen to listen to the Cheating Death Podcast. On today's episode of the Cheating Death Podcast, we provide insight on the long overdue and the hard to pursue Reptilian Conspiracy. Why is it that so many people feel that humans are shape-shifting lizards? Is it because they have a fear of the bearded dragon that they had growing up? Or is it potentially because they do not dare tread where the Komodo dragons stare? Either which way, dear listeners, we provide an insight into this, as well as providing you a new Annihilation Announcement, an all-new joke of the episode, a top 5 list of our favorite lizards, and much, much more. We would like to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@Cleric of Chaos, where we are trying to gain 100 subscribers before the end of the summer. If you'd like to support the program, you may do so by purchasing merchandise, buying a cameo, or, dear listener, you may buy us a coffee as well. All can be found in the link below, and we would be remiss if we did not mention to follow each and every single one of our funny, talented, and professional friends at the links in the episodes and in the podcast description. Time is of the essence, dear listeners. We ask ourselves questions over and over and over and over again, but do we ever find a different solution? This may very well be the definition of insanity, but the way we move forward, the way we continue to climb that mountain before we all reach the end is imperative. For we each have a way to understand the world in a way that is unique to any other person on this planet. And upon viewing of this program, dear listener, you are fully aware by now that all you need to do is grab yourself a nice coffee, put your feet up, and let us tell you how you can cheat death. This is your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this is your Annihilation Announcement. Over the millennia, there have been millions of different stories told about the ways and shapes and forms and lights of the sun, and the way the stars angle towards the sky, and how we can be better people on a grander scale. There are no lost intentions throughout the ways and the shapes of the universe. Everything is done intentionally, whether or not we choose to describe, dictate, or dissuade others from having their opinions. The world is how it is. The universe continues to move forward apathetically as if it does not know that you actively exist. But be very aware, dear listener, not only does the universe know that you exist, it is fully capable and fully ready for you to move forward in a way that is unique in according with your way of life, with your dreams, with your destiny, with your facts, and with your determination and deliberation. We always take for granted, as a species, as a society, as a culture, exactly what we are able to do to help those around us, exactly how it is that we can move forward in a world that is ever so unforgiving. These lessons, in and of themselves, provide us all an opportunity to see exactly what we have to offer the realm. But do very many of us ever seize those opportunities, or do we just give ourselves excuses as to why we are not able to follow through on a certain element of life? These are principal facts that we look towards the sun for answers. Meanwhile, it is just a giant ball of hydrogen and helium that keeps us warm and keeps us from dying. It is not going to answer your questions, and it is absolutely not going to provide you with solace in your time of suffering. Given the nature and the dynamics of every single thing that we have done as a species on this planet, how destructive, how catastrophic, how horrific everything has become, the advent of artificial intelligence being utilized each and every single day by the vast majority of people who can't be bothered to pick up a book is enunciatingly horrific. And I say enunciatingly because even AI is not capable of speaking to the degree of some human beings. There is a war taking place within your mind. You wake up in the morning, you have a routine, you move forward, you configure, you move on, you do what you need to do to get up, to get that breakfast, to get that jog in, to get that workout, to go to work, and to do what you need to do to survive another day. Does AI really need to be a part of that? Absolutely not. The more we acquiesce to the recent developments and to the recent daily usage of artificial intelligence is the day that we start to die as a species, is the day that we start to perish in terms of our own mental and psychological capabilities, the way we are destroying our own cognitive centers because we are too apathetic to not use an application that we pay $30 plus a month for it to tell us what to say, for it to tell us what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolutely bizarre point in existence. Do you think that 500 years ago, individuals in who may have had access to this information would have done any differently? Probably not. Back in the medieval times, there may have been individuals in whom looked towards artificial intelligence as being the god that they needed. But roping this right back into where we started this annihilation announcement, the universe is apathetic to a degree. But you yourself, dear listener, understand that each and every single potential opportunity that you face, you need to face it on your own. The fact that we, as a species and as a culture overall, have lost our geomagnetic compass within inside of our brains because we can't stop using GPS. And forgive me for touting my own horn here, but within one of the biggest metropolises in North America, I do not use a GPS. This entire city is mapped out in my brain. Why? Because at the end of the day, when everyone else in 20 years is completely dead in terms of their own cognitive thought, guess who they're going to be paying to map out the remainder? At the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to give yourself a chance to shine, a chance for your brain to shimmer and glisten in the moments of majesty that we all experience and that we all try to face together. And ultimately, at the end of each day, you are the one that has to go to bed and realize that you are losing every single fabric and every single element of what makes you human. And you are slowly turning into an apathetic robot with nothing more than a meager pension potentially awaiting you at the end of your career. However, there is still quite a lot to fear. This has been your news anchor, the Cleric of Chaos, and this has been your Annihilation Announcement. Willkommen, 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 meine Freunde. Guten Morgen, guten Tag und eine gute Nacht ist deine Reisende und deine Ausländer, deine Allesfresser, deine Schauspieler, deine Künstler, deine Vernichter. Und ich bin das Verstein, ist dein Herz das gebrochenes Durst ist, meine Freunde. und ich bin bereit und heute ist eine schöne Tage. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this episode of the Cheating Death Podcast is about to provide you with insight into one of the most asinine conspiracy theories that has ever been postulated by a human being. For you see, dear listeners, today we are briefly touching on the Reptilian Conspiracy, formally and dramatically devised by a lovely individual in whom was a former football player named David Icke, a gentleman in whom is categorized himself as a laureate, a scholar, an individual in whom is against the grain, somebody in whom goes against the very fabrics of society. Meanwhile, this is a man that still goes around the world making money at conventions, speaking nothing but gibberish about the idea that shape-shifting reptilian aliens have taken over the entire and political system. How could we allow this to happen within our denizen of dereliction? Oh, this is so scary. No, it is not. You understand, dear listener, that David Icke, whom was a disgraced football player, an individual in whom did not do particularly well as either a footballer, a sports journalist, a broadcaster, and as for the Green Party, this man is a veritable individual in whom should not be listened to. Now, of course, we may have to select our words carefully throughout this program, because this is an individual in whom has a tendency to be a bit litigious, has a tendency to be a little bit sue-happy. So, given the nature and the dynamics of this particular circumstances, we will stick specifically to the facts. David Icke is a author of over 20 books that specify and direct the individual to learn about conspiracy theories and the way the world is and how calamity has shaped into the world that we see today. The reptilian conspiracy theories have taken a large amount of information that have taken away from the absolute horrible plights that we see upon this planet, upon this plane, upon this world. We do note that there are a litany of individuals in whom, before this particular individual spoke up about this entity, it was a folklore, a mythology, nothing more than a story, nothing more than mere fiction. But this particular individual decided to take that little bit of fiction and amp it up to level 12, because when you take into consideration exactly how it came to be, you must understand that there are a litany of people in whom came before him and wrote about the reptilians in a very fictional sense. Robert E. Howard, Atlantis and Lemuria, Helen Blavatsky, Michael Parkin. These are only 3 individuals in whom wrote about the reptilians in a very, very, very fictional sense. But as it stands, dear listener, do we really see that these particular entities or individuals are anything more than just folklore? Anything more than an opportunity to try to make money from individuals in whom may not necessarily have the greatest of minds or may not necessarily be capable of their own independent thought? We see in examples of how Clark Ashton Smith used Howard's serpent men in stories that would involve authors going forward with H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. So you have to understand that this particular conspiracy theory does not emanate from a place of reality. It emanates from a place of grasping at straws, from a place of, I'm not quite sure exactly what we ought to do. I'm not sure exactly what we should be speaking about. How are we going to upset them next there? We'll talk about the lizard men. That's grand, perfect. And then in that moment alone, you note that the information and the inspiration from American occultist Maurice Doreal, formerly known as Claude Doggins, wrote a pamphlet in which was horrific in nature when you were to actually put pen to paper. This was entitled The Mysteries of the Gobi, essentially the Gobi Desert. And this mysterious, luring, scary type of race that would happen to be of the serpent variety, once again meant to be fiction. The idea, along with that, is that the notion of the reptilian conspiracy also involves alien abduction, which is absolutely insane considering that back in 1967 there was a man by the name of Herbert Schirmer in Ashland, Nebraska, whom also happened to be a police officer, although let's be completely blunt here, nothing really happens in Nebraska, not that you would really need police, but back in 1967, this particular individual was steadfast that reptilians had abducted him and placed him onto their ship for experimentation purposes. This was obviously proven to be absolute nonsense and proven to be a hoax because, of course, it was. You take into consideration Dorial's poem, The Emerald Tablets, as meaning nothing more than an Atlantean priest king that was asserted in all likelihood to be from a realm that was capitulated and identified as one would identify and see as the quote-unquote Shadow Kingdom. These works of fiction are just that, and yet people have taken it to an insane degree. So, dear listener, understand this. Are there reptilian shapeshifters leading the world and the United States political cabal? No, there are not. Are they crusty, old, out-of-touch people? Yes, they are. But that does not mean that these people are reptiles. After all, the only reptilian that I support is Reptile from Mortal Kombat 2. Thank you for tuning in today, dear listeners. Take care of yourselves and each other. Today's joke has been brought to you by the Cleric of Chaos. We take for granted exactly how frequently the different types of foods have been brought over to North America from multitudes of places around the world. It's true. We do not really pay tribute or homage to things in the way that I feel that we should. For example, there are a lot of rural places in America in which have finally undertaken sushi as a popular food destination. Makes you wonder, what would an Alabama roll look like? At the top of today's episode, we promised you a top 5 list of our top 5 favorite lizards. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us dive right in. Coming in at number 5, we have the bearded dragon. Coming in at number 4, we have the Gila monster. Coming in at number 3, we of course have the lovely and benevolent crocodile. Coming in at number 2, we have one of the most beautiful little pretty lizards of all time. You may have seen him on television. Yes, we are looking at the gecko. And coming in at number 1, we of course would be remiss if we did not mention the bold, the benevolent, but also brutal Komodo dragon. What are your top 5 favorite lizards? Feel free to comment below this video or email us at thecheatingdeathpodcast@gmail.com. Over the millennia, there have been litanies of opportunities for people to create new mythologies, new folklore, new situations to where individuals may or may not be ultimately led to disarray within the mind. These particular ways in which we capitulate our thinking do not necessarily identify with the vast majority of individuals on the planet. We have a way of stretching the truth and ultimately combining stories in a way that make them more appealing to the mass audience. But what we are doing in that particular idiom, dear listener, is we are not giving ourselves the opportunity to see exactly what is objective, what is plain, and what is clear. There are a litany of conspiracy theories that do not stand the test of time. However, due to one particular individual, a former footballer that we mentioned earlier in the program, this particular conspiracy theory has remained prevalent for well over 30 years. At the very base level in terms of it first being expressed in the media all the way back in the 90s, we take the time to understand exactly what we see and exactly what we do. But when it comes down to the overall semantics of the situation, is there any real application to the reptilian conspiracy theory? There is a lot of folklore, and yes, we did touch on the skinwalkers, but if we are looking at a particular dynamic, then ultimately, dear listener, the reptilian conspiracy is nothing more than a borderline, bizarre, completely blisteringly bullshit scenario. You look at the ways in which people identify the proverbial shapeshifters, the individuals in whose pupils and eyes go completely black before the camera catches them and before they realize they're being watched. Then they blink and their eyes return to normal. We are led to believe that these particular controversies as well as these conspiracies are anything more than just factual fodder, when in actuality they are nothing more than mere distractions. We must look ahead, we must try to move forward, and instead of engaging in the ideologies in which have absolutely no foundation in truth, we choose to entertain the idea of melodrama in fantasy. The ideas and notions of the world in which we live in are already captivating enough. We do not need to have any particular salacious or silly dynamic applied to it. We see the world for what it is, but when you apply a highly ridiculous conspiracy theory with zero application to the overall situation, you only are doing yourself as well as the people around you a disservice. We do not understand from the central perspective exactly how much that impacts people on a regular everyday basis. But, dear listener, understand that the Reptilian Conspiracy is nothing more than just that, a conspiracy, something based in folklore, something that individuals wanted to tack on as well as potentially distract the denizens of this derelict earth realm to be distracted by while they are trying to count their pennies, save their dollars, and move towards a brighter tomorrow. Instead, look towards your future, adjust the sun, and figure out exactly what it is that we need to do in order to stop these particularly idiotic and or fanatical theories from coming into play. For when they do, we are taking time away from individuals, entities, situations, calamities that require our utmost attention. Do not go blindly into the dark, for you know that we will always be with you. The Cleric of Chaos has your back. Until next time, dear listeners, thank you for tuning in today. Take care of yourselves and each other. The Cheating Death Podcast is brought to you by Nach dem Leben CRDVC, Cleric of Chaos, and where you can find all podcasts on all platforms. If you'd like to support the program, you may do so by purchasing merchandise, buying a cameo, or buying us a coffee at the links in the episodes and in the podcast description. Follow our YouTube at youtube.com/@Cleric of Chaos as we are trying to reach 100 subscribers before the end of the summer. Follow all of our social media as well as the pinned profile post and all the episodes in the podcast description, our Twitter, our Instagram, and much, much more. Please follow our very talented friends as well as the Backroom Comedy Club at instagram.com/Backroom Comedy Club, where you can find shows 5 nights a week at 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. Follow comedian Alex Burke at instagram.com/AlexBurkeComedy, Damon Charles at instagram.com/Damon.Charles, comedian Will Daniels at instagram.com/Lift4Kids, and that's KIDZ, comic Darren Burke at instagram.com/DarrenBurkeComedy. I got my Nicole Harianen at instagram.com/hot.mama.scholar, our best friend and lifting liaison, powerlifting professional wrestler and professional predator catcher extraordinaire Douglas Mallow, our sports consultant Rich Dallow at twitter.com/X's and O's Life Pod, our basketball consultant Drew Yari at twitter.com/DY Experience, as well as please be sure to follow each and every single one of our consultants in the list and the links in the episode's description. If you or anyone you know are experiencing any emergency calamity that, including but not limited to domestic violence, suicidal thoughts, drug and alcohol abuse, assaulted in terms of Veterans Affairs crisis, LGBT crisis support, gambling abuse, and substance withdrawal, please contact the telephone numbers listed in the episodes and in the podcast description as well. If you or anyone you know are looking at adopting a playful puppy or a cute kitten, please visit your local animal adoption rescue center, as they are in dire need of your support. And remember to visit yummypets.com/voice to sign up for a free account, to click the button every day so shelter animals have an opportunity to receive free food in the amount of 330 pounds at the end of each and every month. We'd like to give special thank you to the W Burger Bar at 10 College Street, open daily from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. with deals starting at $6.50 for beef sliders and fries during their happy hour between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. And we'd also like to shout out their $9.99 fish bowls and their $6.99 cocktails. Give them an opportunity and give them a try for the $9.99 lunch special as well from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Dundas Shawarma on 768 Dundas Street West in Toronto, Ontario. Pop on by for a delicious pizza and slice as well as a lovely shawarma wrap special the likes of which you have never seen before. And dear listeners, we absolutely understand that given the nature and the dichotomy of today's life circumstances, that there are absolutely no areas of opportunity to which have been left unturned. We note, dear listeners, that time is not of the essence. It is not linear. It is indeed a flat circle, but that does not mean that we are incapable of not moving forward in a way that is completely capable and lovely for each and every single one of us. Give yourself an opportunity to look yourself in the mirror and see just what you are capable of, because at the end of the day, we all die. We might as well enjoy a little bit of time. And remember, we're pulling for you. We're all in this together.